Good afternoon, GMA members, and welcome to this update on ARPA. We're pleased to have with us today our friends from the Office of Planning and Budget, Stephanie Beck, Deputy Director, Samir Anderson, and Jennifer Wade. You'll be hearing from them very shortly, but just a quick intro. Since the passage of the American Rescue Plan Act earlier this year, the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget has really worked tirelessly to set up the conduit for getting ARPA funds to all of our 515 NEU cities in Georgia. They've worked one-on-one with many cities across the state to ensure that eligible recipients submit all the necessary information to get their grant funds. And so we're very pleased to have them here with us today. And at this time, most of our NEU cities have been set up in the portal. They've either received their funds or will be getting their funds, their first tranche of funds very soon. And we just appreciate the hard work of the OPB team. All of you have been great partners throughout this process, and thank you for keeping GMA informed throughout. We're excited that we'll hear today about the state of Georgia's grant program using ARPA funds. That program opened on August 1st and will remain open through the end of this month, through the 31st. So at this time, I would just like to turn it over to Stephanie to say a few words, and I'll just turn it over to you all. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Becky. Hi, I'm Stephanie Beck, Deputy Director with the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget for Georgia. Thanks so much for letting us take some time today to discuss the continued rollout of the American Rescue Plan, state fiscal recovery funds, and local fiscal recovery funds. We're pleased to have seen such a strong uptake from our cities so far on the non-entitlement unit portion of those local fiscal recovery funds. And we're now moving into the process of accepting the applications for projects to be funded from our first tranche of the state fiscal recovery funds. We're really hoping to see some great applications from our local governments and affiliated organizations across the state that'll take a thoughtful and strategic approach to how we can maximize the federal dollars available at both the state and local level to do some meaningful generational change sized projects all across the state. Joining me today are Samir Anderson, one of our grant specialists, and Jen Wade, our OPB grants manager, to give you an update on both where we are with the local fiscal recovery fund rollout for our NEUs, as well as an overview of the application and committee review process for the state fiscal recovery grants. So with that, I will turn it over to Samira to discuss our progress to date on our NEU fund distribution.
Thank you, Stephanie, for the introduction. To give you all a status update on our applications thus far, we have 429 approved applications. We have 15 applications that are still in draft status, meaning that the NEU has not decided to submit the application at this point. We have 21 submitted and signed, which at this point means that they are waiting, or we are currently waiting on vendor information from the state accounting office in order to proceed with approvation at this time. Currently, there are 19 submitted, meaning that of the 19, 9 are missing terms and conditions, and the others are missing supporting documentation such as DUNS and budget information in order to proceed. Currently, there are 19 that are considered needing adjustment, meaning that the award exceeded the budget that was submitted, ultimately that the allocation be readjusted. These 19 NEUs have been informed of this adjustment, and we are waiting to submit that information. 9 NEUs currently are considered non-responsive, meaning nothing has been submitted, applications, terms or conditions, DUNS or budgets at this time. Currently, there are 3 NEUs that are considered to transfer their applications and their funds to the state currently. As of August 1st, 2020, a file extension has been provided for OPB, meaning that we have been able to extend up until August 20th to be able to receive all corrected vendor forms, signed terms and conditions, supporting documentation. The news to know that if your award has not been approved, please check with your communications and also within your email status to be informed of whether or not your communications have been ultimately informed of whether or not your status has been approved or whether or not there's additional information that needs to be adjusted. You will be notified from our grants email box, which is currently grants@opb.georgia.gov, or you will also receive information from GMA for your status update. Please note that any revisions requested by the state accounting office may take up to a week to process, so please ensure that they are completed in keeping with the deadline of August 20th, 2021. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Samira. So yeah, just to clarify that point too and further emphasize, so August 20th is our deadline for all folks to submit any more information that they need to be able to access these funds. Our extension takes us into the end of the month, but just due to that, that variation that we have with the SAO turnover for the vendor information and approval statuses and everything, we're asking folks to get everything in by the 20th, just to allow us a little bit more time to kind of push everything through and then kick anything back that we need to get more information. So August 20th, just keep that date in mind, please. If you need any assistance whatsoever, like Samira said, you can email us at the email on the screen, grants@opb.georgia.gov, and we will get back to you very, very quickly. So moving on from the local fiscal recovery fund, as Stephanie stated, we are currently in the process of the state fiscal recovery fund. And there is $2.4 billion in this first tranche that OPB received on May 20th of this year. The performance period for these grant funds are very similar to what's outlined in your NEU grant packages that you receive from the local fiscal recovery fund. That period of performance is March 3rd, 2021 to December 31st, 2026. So the projects can extend beyond that. The state must obligate those funds, obviously, by December 31st of 2024, but again, those projects can proceed past that to 2026. To facilitate the distribution of the funds, the state will employ a competitive grant process, so the application will be competitive. As Becky stated, that started August 1st, and that will run until August 31st of this year. And ultimately, it will go through committee review. So OPB will not be in charge of scoring any application. So if you have ideas, need information on proposals and eligibility, you can contact our office using that grants email address that we stated earlier. But the committee members that will be on this for the review will not be able to address specific application questions because we're treating it as a general RFP type process. So in discussing the committees, we have 3 committees that the governor's appointed that are jobs and infrastructure committees. And those are going to be to address broadband, water, sewer infrastructure, and negative economic impact. The negative economic impacts are to address those impacts caused by the public health emergency, including economic harm to workers, households, small businesses, impacted industries, and the public sector. For water, sewer, and broadband, those infrastructures making necessary investments to improve access to clean drinking water, support vital wastewater and stormwater infrastructure, and to expand access to broadband internet. These are extremely broad just overviews of this. If you want very, very detailed information on this, if you go to our main webpage, which is opb.georgia.gov, you can go on there, and if you look under COVID-19 current opportunities, you can click on the state fiscal recovery fund link, and it takes you straight to the page where you can find information on application requirements. But there's also on that main page the recorded video from our first committee meeting, along with the slides that has a much more detailed outline of eligible uses for each category. That I believe that video is about an hour and something long, so it's packed with information. So we do encourage all of you to go to our website again, opb.georgia.gov, click on the current COVID-19 opportunities, right on that main page, right next to the governor's picture, and then just peruse the website, get all the information and the application information as well. So back to the committees. The committees will be really looking for an emphasis from projects that represent a larger community impact or a larger industry impact. So those will be the focal areas and what they're kind of looking for. Eligible entities. So for these applications, we are looking for government organizations that could be state agencies, county governments, cities or township governments, special district governments. And we have gotten a lot of questions regarding, can cities apply? And yes, they can. So the short answer to that is yes, they can. So they are included under government organizations. Then we are also looking at Georgia professional associations and organizations. That's your industry trade association, business organizations, kind of wraps back around to kind of the trade association idea. Trade or professional association or organizations, and nonprofit organizations. So again, really not looking at the individual assistance level. We are looking at, trade organizations to come in. If there is a project that outlines individual assistance, we're just looking for, an overarching association to take that responsibility on to implement that program, right, rather than the individual businesses themselves. So again, that broader community impact, broader industry impact is what we're looking for. The biggest question we're getting is how can we apply? Again, this is all detailed out in our website and a lot more detail too, but we wanted to provide some screenshots here to kind of walk you through the process. So if you go to our main page, again, opb.georgia.gov, this is what this looks like. Current COVID-19 funding opportunities. In addition to the Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund, we also have the Governor's Emergency Education Relief 2 program going on. So if you are part of a project that has some sort of educational component to it, if you want to email us and just kind of confer that, there are opportunities on the education side under Gear 2. So just keep that in mind. So for this particular project, you would go to Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund. And then again, here up top, if you click here, you'll get all the information on applying, application requirement, what the application actually looks like prior to registering in our system. So you can click there, that has all the eligibility outlines and outline and everything too. And then right below that, where I've circled in red, this is our Georgia Grants application portal. This was formerly known as the CARES portal, Georgia CARES before. So we have renamed that just to make sure there's no confusion with the CARES eligibility and then the ARPA eligibility, which are two very, very different programs. So if you click on the Georgia Grants portal, it will take you directly to the grant opportunities page. And you can see here we have the broadband infrastructure, as I mentioned, the negative economic impact, and the water and sewer. You also see that Gear 2 there as well. So in order to apply or to register, you click that Apply Now button, and that will take you into the sign-in registration page. For most of the people that are going to be watching this that are kind of linked to the NEU process, you're going to already have an account, so all you have to do is sign in. To actually apply for this funding, you have to have a DUNS number and an EIN number. You will have to have that SAMS registration to receive your award this time. That is a requirement from Treasury. We have not made it mandatory to register to apply, just because we know it does take a while, as we have advised folks before. So right now it's just that DUNS and EIN, which if you were an NEU that have applied before and received your funding, that's already captured in our system. So you would just sign in to that screen, and then it'll take you to the actual application page. Again, the application requirements are all laid out on our website. If you guys want to peruse those before signing in or registering, feel free to do that. We want to talk a little bit about the scoring criteria. So these projects, once they come through OPB will take a look for eligibility and make sure that the actual application package is complete and not missing any documentation. And then those committees that I've outlined in the beginning of this presentation, they will have this scoring rubric in front of them. And so this is the criteria that they will follow. So a description of the issue, so what problem that your project is attempting to solve. The project design and implementation, which is how you plan to proceed with your project. The capabilities and competencies of your entity, county, city, and what have you. Performance measures, those are also on our website under the reporting and compliance guide. You can take a look at that for the NEUs. You guys are probably already used to this and have kind of combed through this, as you will be held accountable for those as well. So those are the same. And then your budget will be 15% of the total award. And we have information again on the website about what that entails. And so you will just put all of your budget there. You will also have a budget narrative section just below that. And so anything that you put in your budget, you will be able to actually put in further detail in the budget narrative section. And then probably the one we get the most questions on, but the matching funds, you will that will provide up to 15% of your total award. And just for the folks on here again that have received local fiscal recovery funds from OPB or will be receiving those, you may use those ARPA funds as match for the state fiscal recovery fund. So that is counted as match. In general, federal funds are not considered available for match for other programs, particularly federal programs, but in general, they're not allowed. But there's no stipulation for these funds, so you can use these for match. And if you have other grant funds that you would like to use, just check the guidelines, check with the funding agency to make sure. Like I said, in general, they typically cannot be used, but some grant programs do allow you to use as match. So you just kind of need to check with your granting agency there. This is a general timeline for grant awards, and I just want to start by saying that all of this, other than the application period right now, and even that's still, could technically be tentative. This, as you guys all know, this is a very unprecedented process, an unprecedented amount of money. No states really doing it the same way. Samir and I have talked to 10 or 12 states at this point now, and most of them are doing this through their legislative process. And so we are, of all the ones I've talked to, the only one right now that are doing a competitive application for this broad particularly. And so we are really just asking for folks' patience with this, just like with the NAU process, and for the flexibility. We don't know how many applications we're going to get right now. So the timeline that we're presenting right now is flexible. We anticipate that we may have to move things depending on the volume that we receive. So we've already done our committee, first committee meeting. We're obviously in the application period right now. And then once that has ended, OPB will start to screen the applications again for just that, overall eligibility. Do they meet the criteria that's outlined by the interim final rule and Treasury guidance? And then just making sure the documentation is not missing. So we might kick it back and say, hey, you didn't attach a timeline, or something like that. Then the applications that meet the eligibility requirements will go to committee individuals for review. So they will score them individually at first. And then once they have done that, they will come into a collaborative session to discuss strengths and weaknesses of grants and get into a little bit more of the particulars. And that will be the week of September 27th, again, tentatively. And the target date for final scores is around October 4th, final review being the week of October 11th, and then final awards tentatively being announced October 18th. And again, that just depends on the volume that we receive. We want to make sure that the committee members have the appropriate time that they need to score each and every application and get enough time for those individual applications to review. So again, that's just a tentative outline for that.
Well, thank you all so much for that information. Is there any other information that you'd like to share before we close out today?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think the biggest thing is, everything that we know, we've outlined so far is right now on our website. We're awaiting some FAQs to be published, so we're just waiting for those to be reviewed, and we will put those on our website as soon as we possibly can. I think that'll clear up a whole lot of the questions that we've been fielding from folks, but I think the starting point would definitely be our website. If you get into an instance where you have a particular project in mind and you want to know if that's eligible, again, emailing us and just, asking us, what we think, if it's eligible or whatnot, we can kind of give you advice on that. But other than that, yeah, that's really it. We're putting everything out on the website, and just bookmark that page if you want to get updates.
Okay, sounds great. Jen, thank you so much. Stephanie and Samira, we appreciate your help. And that concludes our video.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you guys for your help.